based on reading the materials that were sent, as well as listening to the folks who gave their updates orally, I think we have a pretty good range of options here. One thing that, as I said at the beginning, I want to make sure we don't do is lose some of the thinking that's already been done. So one thing I would ask all of you to do too is if you make sure that you go back to the previous materials that the staff developed, as well as just the conversations today, and make sure that we're covering all the bases, that we haven't left any major holes. That would be really helpful.
Can I throw one in there?
Sure.
In the materials we got at that gigantic information dump at the first meeting, there was a concept paper about the PERS subsidies for retiree health insurance, a topic that I've never understood very well, but that had a significant UAL associated with it, as well as cash payments. And I don't think that's in anyone's portfolio. I don't know whether that's something we should be looking at, but I will just flag it.
So, all right, so help me out here. This would be George and Elana. That's not part of the 21 billion gross UAL, 16 billion net UAL that we're talking about. But benefits are explicitly out of scope for us. So the question is how, I mean, should we be thinking about this any differently than just another benefit? And I mean, is this a source of opportunity to reduce UAL, or is it just another benefit that's out there?
And does it have the same
or another obligation that's out
obligations
there?
So from my perspective, from a state perspective, we usually look at two different things, and bond rating agencies do the same thing. There's your pension liability they're going to talk, and your OPE liability for other payroll benefits. Mm-hmm. My understanding of the charge of this group was the pension liability and not the other liabilities that are out there. And compared to other states, we're actually fairly low. I'll look to Steve and the PERS staff for any more clarification. From my perspective, that's out of scope for this group. But
wanted to ask because it was in the materials.
Yeah, I would say that it is out of scope for the group. If there are places where we should be looking at those dollars creatively, much like we've asked you to look at other dollars creatively, I think we could consider that close enough to what you are looking at to add it to the list. But if what you're talking about is looking at that as a benefit change or as further liability to add to what we're looking at, I think that would complicate the work that you're doing.
Yeah, my inclination is the last part. I mean, if we found more than $21 billion, we could certainly deal with that. Which I'm not counting on that. So, but
thank you.
Okay. So I have just a couple of things I have in the notes here. I think there's some areas that are at minimum required cooperation between us, and at maximum we may need a vertical